We are the dwarves of Erebor. We have come to reclaim our homeland.
Hello, I'm Alex from IGN, and I'm joined by Daniel, and we have seen The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug, and we're going to talk about whether the dragon, which is, I guess, the big villain of the entire trilogy, whether he's the best CG character since Gollum, which is a big claim.
Yeah, because Gollum kind of redefined what motion capture could do.
Yeah.
Andy Serkis kind of pioneered that and has since become kind of an ambassador for it, being recognised as a legitimate, they're calling it digital makeup now. Yeah. Testament to what he did with it. Now, Smaug's a bit different because obviously he's not humanoid.
I'm pretty sure nobody was actually motion captured.
because Benedict Cumberbatch is a really method actor. He actually became a dragon for the role.
Did he? That's good.
But there's these weird stories about Benedict Cumberbatch, how he exercised for 6 months, where he was really limber.
Right.
But still, being limber is not quite the same as being a dragon.
Yeah. So I guess the first, we've seen up until the movie started, we've seen nothing on what the dragon looks like. So I think the first thing to say is
very silhouettes and eyes.
Yeah. But I think it does look incredible. The whole scene of inside the Dwarven Kingdom and the to and froing with Bilbo really is amazing.
Because it starts obviously lots of spoilers. When he first appears, he's hidden in the money, and then he emerges, and there's the money shot on the money, and it fills the frame. Bilbo in the foreground, and it's a very striking pose, almost like something from one of the original sketches. Yeah, and he fills the frame, and
it's kind of curled around Bilbo, isn't it? And because the entire place is just coins, so the whole thing is moving. As his eyes move and his muscles and wings start to kind of move around, all the coins start to shift.
I made fun of Cumberbatch's exercise, but he is incredibly sinuous and snake-like with the neck. Yeah. So it's an incredibly impressive, quite a majestic creature.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's weird there was so much kind of post effects on Cumberbatch's voice.
To the point where it almost doesn't sound like him. There are definite moments where you pick out, words that you can tell that's him saying it, but it almost could be anybody because, as you say, there's so many different audio effects over his voice. But I do think the performance is very, very good.
I think the performance is really good. I also think the performance and the way that the characters around him react is really good as well. Yeah. Recently, I interviewed Richard Armitage, who plays Thorin, who is the rightful king under the mountain. Yeah. And he told me that they, didn't have much to work with. I think he only filmed, one scene with Benedict, and this is what he had to say.
It's more like playing. When there's nothing around, you sort of engage your childlike brain that used to play around with, ideas when there was nothing there, scaring yourself in the dark or playing cops and robbers, whatever it was. How you do sort of ridiculous scale imagining. So, and you think, well, actually, I can make the dragon anything I want to get the moment to happen. So it doesn't necessarily have to be literal. It can be really abstract, and in fact, it was often very abstract in my head. Mm-hmm. And you're free to do that. Whereas if they had created a literal dragon, that's it. That's all there is. So it just gives you more range and more possibilities.
So Thorin only did a single scene. Martin Freeman spends almost an hour.
Yeah, so I don't know whether Martin got to work with Benedict Cumberbatch more closely, but the interplay with the two is really good. Especially, Freeman's running for most of it and hiding. Yeah. But you do feel that there's kind of there is a interplay between the two of them, which is kind of almost a kind of really large scale version of what Freeman does with Gollum in the first movie, with the play of riddles, which is probably the quietest of all the scenes in An Unexpected Journey. This is kind of the big, bombastic equivalent of it. But it was really good.
Yeah. Well, I think for me, the notion of a hobbit with a dragon that's the size of a tower block, to actually see that is ludicrous. But when you actually watch it, you don't feel like you're not immersed in that world. I thought, it's perfectly believable.
While it is really good, impressive and awe-inspiring, the question was, is it better than Gollum? And I just think because it's because it is a dragon and it's not as expressive as a human form. Yeah. Do you feel like that?
Well, I know exactly what you mean, because you can relate to Gollum because he is the same shape and form that we are, whereas it's not going to be a real dragon, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think I can't really see how it could have been any better.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say is, again, it's my criticism of the movie overall, is the scene is just a touch too long. It drags, and there is a finale that's kind of fleshed out in there that, I don't know, it didn't really kind of work for me. But I think that is basically because the movie probably should have ended at the end of that, and obviously spoiler, he lives on till the third movie, and so you spend an hour, maybe longer, chasing it all the way around.
I think that's maybe how we should end this conversation. Is how long do you think Smaug will be in the final movie?
It's so hard to
so
say.
His kind of destruction of Lake Town is going to take up. That's like how
first hour at least.
First hour at least.
Or it might be even with the first hour and a half. But so that's how the movie ends. Again, hopefully you've seen the movie by this point because we have said spoilers. But yeah, Smaug flying off into the distance to go and destroy Lake Town. And if you've read the book, you know what comes next. But I'm not sure how long you can drag that out for, but we will see. But overall, not quite as good as Gollum, but certainly very impressive.
Yeah. So after you see the movie, or if you already have, let us know if you think Smaug's better than Gollum's performance, or if Gollum is still the best digital character in cinema.